afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the HJCAC. This is the Locker Room 411, presented and produced by Dynamic Video Solutions. Today, my guest is none other than the head coach of the Salt River Scorpions, Larry Davis. Hey, how are you, my man?
Doing well, sir. Thank you for having me.
Definitely, we appreciate you coming by, and so much to talk to you about in I'm going to say, a shorter amount of time. How you been? Just this is the first time that you and I are getting to sit down together. You're coaching. This is a busy time of year. You're just kind of all over the place. How do you manage everything?
Well, I think for the most part, man, I plan out my day. I start my day by planning out my day, planning priorities, and really not deviating from those priorities, trying to eliminate distractions. And so for the most part, that's what I do. I think if I don't plan out my day and stick to those priorities and the things that I want to accomplish, I tend to drift. So I just got to plan it out daily, man. That's it.
Later in the show, I'll ask you how your organizational skills kind of translate into your coaching skills. You guys coming off a big victory over the Maricopa Mustangs, 42-21. I had the pleasure of doing the play-by-play of the game. You kept me very entertained. It was, I'm going to say, well played. You and I discussed it. There wasn't a lot of penalties. It was a clean game. Kind of walk us through the game and what your game plan was, because you guys took control of it definitely in the second half, but it seems like you guys clearly were the better team that night.
Well, yeah, that night. I don't know what the future holds. Obviously, the Maricopa Mustangs are a well-coached team and got some players over there. For us, it was more so not so much what they're doing, but what we wanted to do. We're slowly maturing our offense, so we wanted to make sure that we spread the football, stretch the defense, and exploit things that we think we could capitalize on, and just really emphasize minimizing big plays with them, winning the battle of turnovers, and playing sound, disciplined, technical football. And so that was the emphasis all week, and it seemed to work that night.
You guys have a lot of guys on your roster, which is a great thing. That's definitely a blessing. We'll talk about QB 1, 2, and 3 in a sec, but how deep is your team? You guys have some numbers, and you guys have a lot of different weapons.
Yeah. Well, that was strategic from day one in terms of recruiting. Wanted to make sure that we had the depth we need. Depth wins championships. As the season progressed, things happen, whether it's injuries or anything that's sometimes out of your control. But what we wanted to do is make sure that we had depth. So we ended up around probably 70, 72 guys on the roster. Feel good about the guys we brought in, and so far guys are buying in.
From a numbers standpoint, there's not really a formula, but is there a certain percentage that you'd like from Arizona homegrown kids to out of state?
It's not specifically a percentage that we want. Obviously, we love to have the majority of the kids from Arizona. So that's something that we emphasize this year. Our boundaries is the Phoenix Union School District, as well as Glendale and Tullison. And so we really strategically this year recruited in those areas. Coach Horn did a fantastic job connecting with a lot of coaches and a lot of those schools in order to give them the visibility they need to know that we're here. We also did showcasing with Phoenix Union School District that was kind of spearheaded by Coach Horn as well. Alec Horn is our assistant head coach and our offensive coordinator. And so
that was coaching some high school, I think, also.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's the running back coach on the varsity at Perry as well. And so we were very strategic with that. We got some great football players out here in Arizona, and we want to provide those guys opportunities. And so it worked really well. We've got about 53 guys on our roster, probably 70, 72 guys that are from Arizona. So we're excited about that.
We're catching up with Larry Davis. He is the head coach of the Salt River Scorpions. Coach, you were talking about the Phoenix Union School District and just kind of the boundaries. What an offensive line. Your offensive line is very neat. And what I mean by that is your left guard and left tackle, or maybe I have it reversed, are both from Glendale High School. Your center, Maricopa High School, and the right side of your offensive line went to Trevor Brown. Tell us how organized and, I'm going to use one of your words, strategic that was.
Well, it was definitely strategic. That was a game plan from a recruiting perspective that Coach Cass, David Castorino, he's our offensive line coach, and he recruits the offensive line. And so that was something that he was very strategic with. Being a native of Arizona and playing in the Phoenix Union School District, he knows that these kids are tough. They grimy. They like to compete. They don't mind making a living in the trenches. And so he did a really good job recruiting those areas and finding those guys. We watched Trevor Brown move to football last year, and it started up front. We watched Glendale move to football last year and had a successful season. It started up front. And so we wanted to leverage that and see if we could get some guys in, and we were successful doing so.
They say the biggest adjustments over the course of a season, and you'll be able to tell me better, are between week 1 and week 2. Not always the case, but it seemed evident from your team this past week. You guys dropped week 1, but you came back strong in week 2. What type of adjustments were made, and what did you see improvement on in practice that resulted in the win?
Well, it's hard, going into fall camp to simulate what you're going to see in week 1.
Sure.
And so for us, we did as best we could, but what we took from a lesson learned perspective out of week 1 is, one, we had to increase the physicality in our practices and simulate what it's going to look like in the games with the understanding that, we got to be smart and safe with that to make sure that we're preserving guys and making sure they're healthy. The other thing is that we recognize that maybe from a personnel perspective, we had to make some changes there. So there were some tweaks in terms of personnel, and also more than anything else is understanding truly who we got. It's not until you get in those game situations, sure, get that pressure, get a different color jersey in front of you that you realize, all right, here's what we really have. And so what we found out is that, again, we're built to stretch fields, to attack deep, attack perimeters, run the ball between the tackles. And so what we did is start customizing our offensive game plan to accommodate that.
Your offensive line, as we said, is very big and very physical. A lot of guys were the beneficiary of that, but in particular, QB 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to mention the order that they came in the game, and you kind of elaborate. We'll start off with Dylan McKay, and then Trier Edwards, and then Caleb Miller. Tell us what each one brings to the table as far as style and just what you're looking for from each one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say Dylan, very passionate young man, very, very athletic. He was a late bloomer in terms of becoming a quarterback. He actually was an athlete, very good athlete in Colorado in high school. Then he transitioned to quarterback position here last year when he joined Salt River. Again, got a lot of passion, natural leader, can throw the football, and he can extend plays with his legs.
Absolutely. And Trier Edwards, what's he like?
Yeah, Trier Edwards was a transfer here about 3 weeks ago from Riverside Community College. What Trier brings is a lot of experience at the quarterback position. He's been a quarterback at the college level, very mature guy, understands, reads defenses, reads coverages. He's another one that has great ball mechanics, throwing mechanics, great footwork, and he's another one that you got to respect and game plan for his legs because he can beat you with his legs as well. But he's a natural leader as well. Guys seem to rally around him and respond to him well, and so yeah, he's been a good addition for us and will continue to be. And
last but not least, Caleb Miller.
A lot of upside. A young man that's young, played quarterback at North High School locally.
Okay, wow, good stuff.
And so he's one that's got there's not a cap to his potential. Very graceful, very poised, makes good decisions. And he's another one that can throw the ball gracefully and as well as run the football.
In your years of coaching, especially at this level, what's the locker room dynamic like between Arizona kids and non-Arizona kids? Because certainly many of the players have played against each other, and in some cases, especially on the O-line, have been teammates for a long time. But now that they're at a different level and now they're playing with guys who are from out of state, has that really mattered? Has it, or is it all, once you put on that Salt River jersey, it's all for one?
And I think you nailed it right there. It's once you put on the Salt River jersey, it's all for one. We've always emphasized at Salt River about being a brotherhood, being a family. We emphasize and practice doing life together. We always emphasize, and talk about those teams that eat, sleep, and live together are hard to beat. Sure. And so that's one of the things that I think I've been very, very intentional about. I always say, you know what, if you really want this United States and this country to excel and to prevail together, go hire a football coach, because anytime that you could take a group of individuals from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and bring them together to believe in a common goal, a common cause, and move forward together, then that's somebody that actually leads well. And so that's something that we've been doing with this team, and they believe it in each other. And so that's kind of been seamless. I mean, we haven't had any issues with bringing guys in from out of state and mixing them in with in-state guys. It's been seamless.
I'm going to ask you kind of an off-the-cuff question. You've been around for a while on the coaching fields. Whether it's a South Mountain, whether it's a Campo Verde High School, gorgeous turf popping up all over the valley from a playing surface. Back in the day when you played, there was some mud, there was some grass stains. What's it like for you seeing all this, I'm going to say pristine turf, carpet, if you will, and guys not, I'm not going to say they're not getting after it, but old school football, there was something about that was special. Mm-hmm.
I like that you asked that question, because that's part of my motivation with our team every week. We practice at South Mountain High School, but we only practice on the field because of the availability on the field, because obviously you're sharing it with different activities that are going on with high school, not just football, but band and cheerleading and various other activities that are going on. So we actually share the field with them. So we may get on the field one day a week, but prior to that, we're practicing on a softball field.
Oh, wow.
That in many cases, it may be wet, it may be moist there, it may have potholes. And so we strive ourselves on, hey, you know what, we're preparing in the mud, we're preparing in the gutter, so when we get to the turf, we're going to be prepared to be competitive and compete at a high level, and that team's got to see us. So we kind of strive on that and have fun with that. So.
I like that. I did not realize that you guys were practicing off of that field. Okay, no, that makes all the difference in the world. No, you truly are ready for whatever surface happens to happen for you guys.
Absolutely. One
guy who really impressed me, or I'll say another guy who impressed me, one of your running backs, and you've got several, but in this case, Marquise Munoz. He's a dude. Unofficially, I think he was over 100 yards. He was good. He followed his blocks well. He showed, I'm going to say, surprising bursts of speed. And I say surprising for myself. It was the first time I had seen him.
I understand.
Tell us about his makeup, his character, and his skill set.
He's a no-nonsense guy. He comes out ready to work every single day. And the guy motor never turns off. And he's just a high competitive guy. And again, no nonsense. He's out there to work. You rarely ever see him messing around. He's dialed in, locked in, responding to coaching, and just a very driven kid. And you're right. Whether it's taking reps in practice or the game, there's one gear with him. And what comes to my mind is extremely explosive.
That's good. I mean, he was. We were really impressed with him, and we hope to certainly see more of him. Another guy whose name didn't always roll off my tongue as smooth. I just always referred to him as your fullback, Garnett Houston. He's a big boy, and he can block and he can carry the rock. Tell us about him.
Yeah, Garnett from Florida. Another guy that, again, like you said, he's got a fullback body, but he's got tailback feet, I like to say.
Wow,
so
okay.
He runs the ball hard. He don't just run 2 blocks. He runs through blocks when he's lead blocking. And, he's been a very good asset for us because not only can you use him at the running back position at fullback, but you can also line him up at tight end. He's just a very versatile player. First-year guy for us.
First-year guy, okay. Josiah Barajas was probably the young man who stood out most defensively. He got the interception that I think didn't count because there was a penalty on the play. I want to say he had a sack. He was all over the field. He was very impressive. Tell us more about him. Number 16.
Yep,
he was
Josiah
all over the place.
Absolutely. From Colorado, second-year linebacker for us. And so he's a veteran. He's a veteran. To me, he's that linebacker leader for us. And he's just getting better every week. He's a downhill kid. He's a true Mike backer. Okay. He wants to be in the action. He wants to mix it up. Young men always talk about, I want to smoke. Josiah's the type of guy, he don't want to smoke. He wants to be the fire that creates the smoke. And so when he's in that middle for us and plugging gaps and flowing sideline to sideline, we know we always got a chance on the football field. So we're excited about what Josiah is bringing to us.
From a recruiting standpoint, from a coaching relationship, yes, we realize that you guys have very good relationships with the high school coaches who are within the city of Phoenix and surrounding areas. Next level, how do you develop relationships so you can get your guys to the next level?
Yeah, no, very good question. One of the things I've done, obviously, is reaching out and leveraging relationships that I already have. Okay. 2, just getting out there, making myself available and seen and developing a relationship with some of these 4-year universities. I had the pleasure to go out and work a couple months ago at NAU. They had a big mega camp up there, had all these different, Power 5 schools up there, coaches up there supporting this mega camp. And my staff and myself was actually invited to work that. And so we were able to leverage some of those relationships there, build some relationships, make some connections, network there, let them know we're here and we've got some guys that can help them at that level. And so we're leveraging that. And one of the big things I've done when I came over, assumed the role as the head coach, as I hired an outbound recruiting coordinator by the name of Perry Mitchell that was at one point director of football operations at Valley Christian.
I do know him. Wow, it's a small world. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Been a very, very good friend of mine for a very long time. Coached his son at the age of 7, so I'm bearing my age.
Okay.
And so he's coming in. He's helping us with outbound recruiting. That's his only responsibility. And so we're leveraging that as well. And another thing is just keeping those guys highlighted out there, right? I mean, yesterday I had a couple Scorpion players of the week that I highlighted on Twitter, and I had 4 or 5 guys, coaches at the next level reach out to me wanting to know just general information about these guys, and we were able to talk about not only who they are as athletes, but who they are off the field.
Sure, and that's important.
And some of the high character, high integrity guys that we have on the team, so.
We're speaking with Larry Davis. He is the head coach of the Salt River Scorpions. And now it's time to learn a little bit about Larry Davis, not so much necessarily away from the field, but kind of your upbringing. You are from Houston.
Yes.
Kind of tell us what got you to the Valley. Tell us about Texas high school football. I imagine that was part of it. Just bring us into the Larry Davis world.
Okay. All right. So you really want me to share my age now, though?
Yes, go for it.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So, born and raised in Houston, Texas, specifically Baytown, Texas, probably 20 miles east of downtown Houston.
Okay.
And played football there at Baytown Robert E. Lee High School, 5A program there, which was actually the highest level you had at the time. Ended up with a football scholarship to play at UTEP. So you asked me how did I find my way to Southwest. I ended up playing nose guard, at UTEP, Texas, El Paso.
Oh, you were a minor.
I'm a minor.
Okay,
absolutely.
Good stuff.
And so played there. Following that, ended up going to trying out for a Canadian football team, got released. Went to NFL Europe with the Ryan Fire, ended up tearing my hamstring in 3 places, got released, waived injured, and then went back and finished school. And once I finished school, started working in the defense industry, and I ended up finding my way here in Arizona by way of my career field.
Wow. How long have you been in Arizona, and what was your first coaching job in Arizona, whether it was high school or college?
Yeah. My first, so I found my way here in 2007.
Okay.
So I was working in Albuquerque at the time, and then the opportunity presented itself, and I ended up coming to Arizona. And so my first high school job, because I coached many years in youth,
sure,
was at Desert Vista.
Okay,
under the leadership of Dan Hines.
Wow, okay.
And so that's where I started at. I think that was right 2014, 2015. So that's how I got into high school coaching.
Interesting. And then, if I'm correct, and this is where I'm hearing names, but sometime forgetting which teams, you were leading the Gila River Hawks at one point, correct?
No, sir.
No, tell me, how'd you get, yeah. Explain your relationship with the junior colleges.
Okay, ain't no problem. So how that worked is Ryan Felker, who I coached his son, he was the head coach at Gila River Hawks. So I coached his son in youth, and then I coached his son at Desert Vista. So I had a relationship with Ryan Felker. And then I was coaching again, at Desert Vista, and then in 2018, I went to CAA division with the South Point Griffin, so South Point High School in South Phoenix, inner city school, charter school, and was the head coach there. Then went back in 2019 to Desert Vista, and then in 2020, I was helping out. I was still coaching. I was coaching at South Mountain, but I was helping out Ryan Felker and the Gila River Hawks. So I was helping.
Okay, so you weren't the official. Oh, you were. All right, I knew there was some type of tie-in.
Right.
Okay.
So there was some relationship established there with Coach Alec Horn and Coach Vaughn, Coach Kendrick, who was a coach over there as well. And then when Coach Vaughn got the job last year to be the head coach at Salt River, he called me and asked me would I be the D-line coach.
Gotcha.
And so that's how I ended up with the Salt River Scorpions. And then when he took a promotion, then the opportunity presented itself for me to be the head coach.
Wow, you've been around. You've been
around a little while.
Yes, you have. Definitely. Good stuff. Last question I will ask. Road trip this week. Going down to Tucson to take on I believe you guys have the Sonoran Sidewinders. Tell us what you know about that team and just kind of, we're not going to ask you for any secrets or anything, but just, it's mid-game week right now. Just kind of tell us about the prep work and kind of you guys' travel plans.
Okay. So, we're excited to play Sonoran under that new coaching leadership they got with Coach Reeser. They got those guys believing, got those guys playing tough, and they've got some key guys over there. They got some dudes over there, and so we're excited for them. Glad to see them progressing well, and so we definitely got to prepare for them. And so for us, again, it is midweek, so we're just continuing really. Not installing a lot, more so refreshing and refining what we do have, and really just emphasizing being who we are and not accommodating or changing anything in terms of what we're going to see from them. So we're really emphasizing be who we are, be true to our identity, and work and emphasize the things that we do well. And so that's been our focus this week. In terms of travel, we'll finish up. We got today and tomorrow. It's our heavy days with pads. Friday, we'll go through, we'll have a walkthrough, and probably Saturday around 2:15, we'll start preparing to travel, take the charter bus down, and head down to Tucson and hopefully have a competitive game.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, keep doing what you're doing. This has been the Locker Room 411, the HJCAC. And, folks, it is getting bigger and better each and every week. A lot of games, a lot of action to talk about. We'll see you guys next week. This has been a production of Dynamic Video Solutions.